So for those of you that do know me, um, I'm Andy, but most of you don't know my story. And I actually have had two really, really big burnout crashes. They were 20 years apart. One was in my early 20s, and one was when I was 39, and I was pregnant with my second child. Um, so in between that time of like the huge crashes, I was so exhausted, major brain fog where I couldn't compute. But these things used to happen to me before my other burnout as well. Um, where just growing up, where I would pretty much blank out in the middle of questions on tests, where um, I would get short with people. And then when I had my first real burnout, I couldn't go up a set of stairs. I was a personal trainer and I was competing in fitness competitions. And my body crashed so bad, I could not go up a set of stairs. It took too much energy and it winded me too much. So the physical was completely taken away with me from me. It was something that was me. I mean, I am a very, very active athletic person, and that was all taken away from me. And I hid it. I still continued training clients. I tried to work out. I tried to hire personal trainers and do all kinds of things. With my training and with my nutrition background and everything, I was able to keep it at a point, which is where a lot of you are right now, where you're able to push through your days. I would wake up exhausted, feeling hungover, not knowing what was happening, where I was sometimes, and just putting my clothes on took all of my energy and I just pushed through my day. That's just what I did. I didn't know any different. I didn't know that I could be any different. And I accepted that that's how I was. I'd been to doctors and specialists, and they would look at me and see that I was still fit and healthy and pretty much say, there's nothing wrong with you. You're fine, and send me away. I had a bunch of miscarriages. I was pregnant 3 times in 1 year. And then we had our first son, with the third pregnancy was the one that was viable. And the thing is that those pregnancies, they again just pushed me. They push your body so much. But now that I know as well, so burnout symptoms as well is, sorry, I didn't think I was going to cry. Burnout symptoms as well are that are miscarriages, fertility issues, reproductive issues, because your physical stress system manages 50 different stress hormones, of which I didn't know then. So a lot of this stuff was my body telling me that it was just freaking stressed to the max, that it just couldn't handle things. So I went through that pregnancy and I didn't know how long it would take me to get pregnant again. So we decided to try, and I got pregnant first time 10 months later. So my kids are like a year and a half apart. And I was in full on burnout with him, absolute burnout. I struggled to do anything. Um, Honestly, pregnancy was the hardest thing for me because I was feeling like a lot of you are feeling now, with that absolute exhaustion energy. And I was trying to create another child in me while I was taking care of another one. It was so hard. I don't even know how I made it through my days. So short with my husband. I do not look back at that proudly at all. And we at that point blamed it on hormones, because when I had my one of my miscarriages when I was pregnant, I was an angry person, so angry that he could look at me and I would just start yelling at him. But as soon as I miscarried, that stopped. So we just thought, oh, this is just a part of pregnancy. But then our son was born with a lot of issues. He was born with like major eczema. He was vomiting all of the time. We had put him on we watched his nutrition, put him on restricted diets, did all these things. And as he was growing up, he had the anger. He was the softest, gentlest, kindest kid. And then he would just explode, like anger, rage, hitting, just horrible. Or it would depend. Sometimes it would then just turn into major sadness, so huge depression, or he would just sit in my arms and just cry. He'd be happy one minute and all of a sudden just be sitting in my arms and crying. The doctor had said that it was the worst case of eczema he'd ever seen. When he was 4 years old, he was having headaches. And we'd been going to specialists, pediatric allergists, pediatric gastroenterologists. We'd been all over the map. And nobody was able to help. Nobody was able to fix things. We didn't know what was happening. And then he had headaches, and we ended up tracing it back to digestion. It was one of the things he was eating. They had actually put gluten back into it, and he had been gluten-free. But I gave him pain meds for it. And when I asked him how his head was, I said, how's your head? He's like, my tummy doesn't hurt. And I asked him, I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, well, my tummy doesn't hurt. I go, when does it hurt? He goes, every day. So he'd been having gastroenterology issues since he was born. He did not know that he wasn't supposed to have pain in his gut at all. So I started digging into it more and more. And then I ended up stumbling upon a podcast that listed all my symptoms, kind of like with you guys when you come in here. And I list all these symptoms: the short fuse, hypervigilance, skin allergy issues, gut issues, sleep, hypervigilance, anxiety, depression. I may have repeated some things, but all of those things are all different symptoms. And my son had different ones than I had. And so I found that. So I started doing more and more research. There's something called Cushing's disease, which is the top 2.5% firing of your stress hormone, which a lot of you have experienced. And then you start going into burnout, which is the lower 2.5% of your stress hormone, of your cortisol. That's actually called Addison's disease. The top is Cushing's, the bottom is Addison's, overdrive and burnout. And she looked at me and she listened. She did some blood tests and she didn't know at all what I was talking about. So when I came back from my blood test, she's like, you're right. I've looked into this and you do have signs of Addison's disease. But you're not fully there yet. Your markers aren't showing. You're still 10% functioning of my cortisol, not 2.5%. So we're going to keep an eye on you. Got me into a wait list for an endocrinologist. So in between that time, the wait list was like 9 months. I was like, screw this. I was so pissed off for her telling me that I have signs of it, but we're going to keep watching it because my markers weren't there yet. Full on Addison's disease, you're pretty much in the hospital and your organs are shutting down. You will see some PTSD cases where the gut gets so bad, where the diarrhea, the constipation, the ulcers, the bleeding ulcers, the gallbladder, the liver, the kidneys, like all of these things just start really just shutting down and having issues. And that I'm not diagnosing, but that is often a contributor, could be a contributor to them going into Addison's disease, which is your stress system, the physical stress system. So with that, like I was pissed. I was angry, I was mad, and I used that to do all my research. And I ended up finding somebody that specialized in all of the 50 hormones, not just testing the one. And she tried working on me for a while and we got to a certain point with it, but then we got stuck. And then we ended up realizing that I had major gut issues too, but because my nutrition was so good, we didn't know about all of them. That being said, I had diarrhea for years where it was waking me up and I was running to the toilet. TMI, sorry, but a lot of you are going through this as well. And I was told, oh, it's hormones. I found out later it was some major gut issues going on because when you're in a stress system, your gut shuts down. And so I didn't link all of this. So we couldn't make headway with getting these 50 hormones sorted because your gut is responsible for 95% of your serotonin production and getting a lot of these hormones out into the bloodstream of your body. So it wasn't working as well. So I had to start fixing all of those things. And then my background's in physical. So I worked on the nervous system and I got myself out of it and I got my son out of it. And we did it. And then I started adapting things that we had learned to my husband's schedule. And holy crap, was that hard. whenever he switched to another division. I mean, when he switched to being on bicycles, they ride bikes from April to October here for like 10-hour shifts, and they're all over. So being able to pack things for him and get everything for him and get his recovery in there, it was a lot to adapt, especially when you're having foot pursuits in there, or bike pursuits and altercations and all of these things. There's so many different stressors to account for. And then when he was on other specialized divisions, when he was in a detective office and he's reading files all the time, so he's sitting, he's not physically active, but he's mentally going through all of these stressors for his entire shift, and being pulled in all directions by admin because everybody needs help from him because of all different 50 million cases, that there was a different stress level there. So we had to adapt and change things for him there. Every time that he went, and then when he went back on the road, different stressors there too. There's all kinds of things. And we eventually figured it out, and we were doing great. Sleeping, I was calm with the family. We were all doing awesome. And then we would go out with colleagues of his, and are really, so this isn't easy for me to talk about. So the one guy that sat beside my husband in police college, like really good friends, best couple we could ever imagine, and they divorced. And found out when we were at his daughter's birthday party one day that he wasn't sleeping, short fuse, hypervigilance, all this stuff. Now, this guy was that athlete. He ate so clean, so well. He exercised like crazy, and he wasn't being able to do his workouts anymore. He was getting short fused, hypervigilant, all of this stuff. And I can't say if that's had an effect on their marriage, but I'm going to place bets that a lot of it did. And so he asked me how he could just sleep. He's like, how can I sleep? How can I shut off my mind and just sleep? So I gave him some tips. And the next morning he called me. He's like, oh my God, I finally slept. I haven't slept like that in a long time. Now, he's best case scenario. I'm going to let you know. Some people, and I have some of those tips in my videos and stuff. Some of that works for people depending on where your stress system is at, but that didn't help the hypervigilance. It didn't help the short fuse. So we had to dig deeper and get into some more things with him. So I started helping him. And then the guy that is on the other side of my husband, he had to take somebody's life on his shift. I don't know the scenario. I don't know what happened, but I know that his PTSD was horrible, and to the point where his whole body was revolting, and he ended up taking his own life. His partner is somebody who I've been watching a lot because he has all the symptoms, a lot of physical stress symptoms that he's put that are going on in his body. And one day we were talking and about what I do, and he's like, you should really start helping more officers. And so it's been through that of helping them that I just started helping more and more officers. And it ended up spreading to where now I help all of you guys in North America, UK, and Australia. I'm not associated with any service, so that's made a huge difference. I am going to tell you that when I started, my first speaking engagement was not my first one. My first really big one that scared the crap out of me was for public order. And it was a national public order conference where I was on stage speaking with those from Germany and France, and captains and commanders from all over. Chiefs were in the audience, and I was like, holy crap. But I realize now that you guys are all humans. Behind your uniform, behind your titles, behind your ranking, behind all of this, you guys are people's husbands and your fathers, your mothers, your brothers and sisters to people. And you are the kids to other parents, and you are just human beings. And the thing is that as much as you are true superheroes, and I know that some of you don't think that, but you really are, you guys run into danger when everyone else is running the other way. The thing is that you guys don't have that special superhero protection that TV superheroes have. And because of that, you have the same stress system of a civilian. And because I have a genetic stress issue, which I don't think I said, we eventually found out that I have a genetic stress condition where I have extra stress hormone floating around in the frontal lobe of my brain, which puts me more susceptible for burnout. Same as you. Minute you're going to work. Many of you, though, even off work, can't turn it off, where your stress systems are constantly firing out stress hormone all the time, which puts you and I more susceptible for burnout. And so it's really important that you understand that you are not a civilian, and what you do needs more than just the working out and the nutrition. There's more things that we need to figure out. We need to really be putting together those hormones and the gut and the nervous system and getting all those things together so that your stress system can handle everything that you guys push on it every single day. I get suicides and on-duty deaths that come across my social media feed, come across my desk almost every single day. I am doing my part to keep all of you guys as safe as possible and making sure that your brains are clear, making sure that you guys are calm, that your home becomes a safe place, not a place where your kids are walking on eggshells because they don't know what mood you're going to be in, which is not your fault. And that you guys can actually have the energy and the energy and the ability to be calm and happy and be able to be with one another so that you guys have a safe place to come home to, because I know many of you do not. And a lot of that is due to the fact that you can't turn off the hypervigilance and you can't shut it down, and you're short fuse. You go from 0 to 100 so fast. And so my goal is to make sure that you get that safe place, that you can think as fast as you need to. When you're doing reports and your brain is shutting down, I want to stop that from happening, because we don't know if you're doing reports or if you're in a calm time when something's going to happen. Most of you are on during a call, but it's after the call. And if anything happens post-call, sometimes a lot of you can't react fast enough. So that's why I do what I do. I've been in your shoes. I know what it feels like. And I'm going to tell you that every single time in my program that somebody tells me that they're not yelling as much at their kids anymore, that they have energy, that they're not needing coffee to make it through shift, and they have energy when they're getting home, that they're off all of their medications, their proton pump inhibitors, their blood pressure meds, their anti-anxieties and antidepressants, when they're getting off of those. And I know that their bodies are working the way that they're supposed to, when they get back to doing all the things that they used to love doing, when catastrophic thoughts are not ruling them anymore and they're actually living in the now and enjoying their family and their life. That's why I do what I do. And that's why I'm here. There is 100% no judgment with you guys. I don't work on the mental side of PTSD. What I do is help all of your stress systems, your physical stress system, so you can handle whatever's thrown at you. So with your physical stress system, it doesn't matter if you have PTSD or you don't have PTSD, your physical stress system is friggin' taxed. So let's work on that together. I'm here for you anytime. Support at 911lifestyle.com. Reach out to me, private message me, comment on this post, and just tell me that I'm ready, and I will definitely get you on board, get you started. We get officers, we get first responders in the first month where their anxiety decreases, the short fuse. Like, we get it for you fast, but then it takes a while to keep rebuilding your engine to make sure it stays that way. But you can get results quickly in the first month. And then over the next 11 months of the program is where we rebuild that engine to make sure that it stays that way. Reach out. I'm here for you. I've got your back, and I'm going to make sure that I can do everything in my power to get you the resources you need, even if it's more than what I am able to give you. So reach out to me no matter what stage you are, and I am here to help.